Welcome to the Fade to Black tutorial for GamePress. The goal of this tutorial is to take the standard abrupt transition between two scenes or images and smooth it out a bit by having the game fade to black and then fade in on the second image. For this project, we need to start with a few elements on the game stage. Specifically, we need a couple of images that we want to transition between. I'm just going to use a couple of backgrounds here. And we need something that will act as the trigger for that transition. So I'm going to pick this big red button, but the trigger isn't limited to use of a button. For example, it could be driven by a character reaching a doorway or collecting an item. The last item that we need to add to our stage is the black screen itself, but we want to add it in a way that it will stay in front of all of our other images in the game, no matter what. To make sure that happens, we're going to place it in a new layer. I'm going to call this layer Blackout. And to create the black screen, we need an empty object from the custom images. These empty objects are really handy for all sorts of projects. So add that object to your stage, then tap it to bring up its properties. I'm going to rename my object so that this one is called Black Screen. And I'm also going to turn it into a scenery object since it doesn't need any physical properties. Last but not least, we need to make it black rather than the white that it defaults to. And then we want to leave the opacity at 0 so it starts out translucent. The next step is to transform our new black screen and make it large enough so that it covers all of the images that we want to transition back and forth between. One of the very useful things about these empty objects is that they can be almost any size, so having one object cover several images is no problem. Now we're ready to put together our code. As a matter of course, I like to keep all of my game behaviors together in one place whenever possible. So I'm going to hop back over to the background layer here and then pull in one of these cardboard box icons so that I can use it to hold all of my game behaviors. I'm going to go ahead and make it a scenery object as well. Alright, on to the behaviors. I like to set up groups of behaviors like this one as true bundles whenever it's possible, so that way it's easier to reference them from anywhere in the game. So I'm going to start by going to Custom Behaviors list and pulling in a behavior bundle. Now that we have the capability to rename our behaviors in GamePress, I also like to just go ahead and do that so that everything stays clear. Now let's pull in a change color behavior from the graphics behavior list. We're going to use this behavior to change the opacity of the black screen so that it does become opaque. And the change color behavior defaults to changing the object to white, so we want to make sure that we shift that over to black. And we want to leave the opacity at 255 so that it's actually a transition from a translucent screen all the way to one that's a solid black. Don't forget that you need to change the target of the behavior to your black screen itself. Since that object is on the blackout layer, you're going to need to select that layer before you can select the black screen object. The last update that we want to make is to tweak the duration of the color change. I've found that 0.25 seconds is fast enough to keep things moving without being so fast that you lose the impact of the fade sequence. Now we need the game to wait briefly before it once again makes the black screen invisible. So it's back to the custom behaviors list where we can get the wait behavior. We need to wait at least 0.25 seconds since that's how long it's going to take for the initial fade out to black to occur. But I like to bump that up to 0.3 seconds so that there's just a little extra time with the screen being completely black. Now we add the second color change behavior so that we can turn the black screen invisible once again. Target the black screen, set the duration to 0.25 seconds, change the color to black, and set the opacity to 0. And that's the core of our fade to black behavior bundle. The next step is to set up the trigger that puts the effect in motion. Since I'm just tying it to someone touching the big red button, I'm going to go ahead and grab an input behavior, and specifically I want the started touching behavior here. It needs to target the red button, and instead I've grabbed the black screen. If this happens to you too, all you have to do is switch over to the correct layer, in this case the background layer, and there you'll be able to select the red button. Okay, now you have a couple of options. One is to connect the started touching behavior directly to the fade to black behavior bundle, and that'll work fine. Another option though is one that I mentioned earlier, and that was to set things up so that you can reference the behavior bundle from anywhere in the game. As an example, instead of linking the started touching behavior directly, let's instead have it broadcast a message. The broadcast message behavior is one of the advanced behaviors in the custom behaviors list. In this case, we don't even have to set up a message to be broadcast. The simple fact that the game is trying to broadcast one is enough. And then we'll create a link between a receive message behavior and our fade to black bundle. Open the properties of the receive message behavior and select the broadcast message as the message to listen for. Now we need to add the behaviors that will control the switch between our two images. To do that, we need to add a wait behavior, since we don't want that transition to happen before the screen is completely black. The time to wait is 0.25 seconds, the same amount of time it takes the screen to go black. And then we want to go to the screen behavior list and add a screen to object behavior, tap it to open its properties, and target your second image with it. And that's it. When you push play, you'll get the first scene with its big red button. You can touch that button and it will transition you smoothly over to the second scene. Thank you for taking the time to watch this tutorial. I hope you find the technique useful.